Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. For the first time in a long time, I'm doing this on a Monday. I'm recording this Monday morning, so it'll probably be out a little bit later today than usual. You can see how I usually wake up in the morning. See that bright ass spot on my bed? That's where my face usually is. I just woke up and I was like, I gotta record this. So I was doing some Alexander Normal last night. I've been having fun with it actually this last week. This is my first Mondays since Alexander Normal came out, and even though it was really easy, it was still fun. I mean, I already knew going into it that Savage was the challenge I was looking for, not normal mode. So it's nice to just be able to still chill out for a couple of weeks, work on some content, because I haven't put a whole lot out this last week. I've been really trying to get as many jobs caught up to 60 as possible. It's not like when A Realm Reborn came out and I already had a bunch of jobs at max level from 1.0. I need to put in the effort to get all of these jobs to 60. So my Bard is 60, my Astro is 60, my Ninja is 60, my Dark Knight is almost 60. So I'll probably get to 60 on that in the next couple of days. So anyway, let's get into the Q&A. I don't have as many this week, so it should be a pretty easy video to do. Let's get into it. Alright, so first question, repost from week 47. Yo, it's Munchlax from Twitch, longtime fan, watcher, first time asking a question, so law bonus. Yes. Since I started playing 14 back in 2013, I mained Dragoon. Did my best to never fall into the LOL Dragoon statement. I managed to become a very good one. With Heaven's Word out, the Dragoon buffs and new skills, how do you see Dragoons now? When played right, Dragoons are like, they're up there. Like, they are doing phenomenally well. So, if a group doesn't have a Dragoon, it probably means they have a Monk instead, and that's perfectly okay. But if they're looking at a Dragoon and they're like, I don't know, it's a Dragoon, they need to let that Dragoon into the group, because they need to be like, damn, that's a Dragoon. As long as they're playing it correctly, that is. And second, is it just me or are machinists really bad right now? To explain that, several free company members playing machinist seems their DPS falls short to everyone. A well-played machinist after the buff that came on Tuesday. I believe this question was asked before they made the buffs, so it might still be, you know, have been true at that point. But a good machinist is still played well. I've had several bards, several machinists come out and perform really well in Alexander Normal, you know, keep up on par with everyone else for the most part. So I'd say no. I'd say that they still have a little bit of a play style issue where the whole not getting a proc 10 times in a row with a 50% chance is very unsatisfying, but they can still do damage just fine. So as long as you're playing it correctly, as Yoshi P said with the latest live letter, he just said, you just need to play the job. That's all I need to do. Next question, spoiler, maybe. So, you guys know what to do. I promise I'll remember. Alright, I'll do it as I'm answering the final question. So, when you see the thumbs up, you know the spoiler's over. Question for you, Sir Mrhappy. I think that's redundant. In the Dark Knight job quest, The Wages of Mercy, you meet another Dark Knight called Sidurgu. Towards the end of the quest in the Tavern of the Forgotten Knight, he tells you that the Al-Ra that were refugees from Doma that came to Eorzea with Ugiri, who were eventually taken by Ishgard. When seen, they were mistaken as Dravanians and were all killed, every man, woman, and child, he states, by Ishgards. Did I read that right, or did I misread that? I don't know. I didn't read the quest. So you tell me. If it said that, it said that. If it didn't, it didn't. I don't know. I'm gonna go back and watch the job storylines later, because right now I'm just trying to get as many 60s as possible. So I didn't even read it. So spoilers over, I guess. There's going to be a lot of spoiler questions, I have a feeling. I took my embargo off of the main story, so I'm now much more willing to answer those questions. So we'll probably see a lot more spoiler questions this week and next. Hey, Mr. Haps, spoiler. You guys know the deal. I'll try and keep this short and sweet regarding the ending to Heaven's Word and the Warrior of Darkness. I don't know what just happened to me there. Appearance at the end. Am I hoping for too much that we will get a good versus evil? Yeah, I already know where this is going. No, we're not going to be able to choose whether or not we're good or bad. It's not going to turn into a two-faction deal. It's literally just going to be a mission where, you know, our light is considered an imbalance and the darkness is coming to create balance, but it will actually create imbalance because the Asians are assholes. No, we're not going to get an ability to choose between. You've already seen the ability to choose between grand companies when it comes to what side we're on is already either meaningless or too influential when it comes to PvP. Like, it makes PvP queues a little bit chaotic. And if we had to choose between a light and a dark side, then you have to go through the whole idea that that, you know, these are sides that are, that while they have to coexist, they couldn't coexist within the same city states and things like that. That would cause creating 2 instances for everything, either an entirely new world where we can, you know, level up on the, you know, the dark side of the warrior of darkness. You know, none of that's gonna happen. It's literally just gonna be kind of like good, bad, that's it. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Welcome to what? Wait. Hello, Mr. Happy. Welcome to Monday with Mr. Happy. Okay. I lost myself in that one there. I have 2.5 questions. Number 1. It would seem that SQ sent me, I'm assuming it's Square Enix, a code to apologize because I didn't receive my PS4 Collector's Edition of Heavensward now that I have it. What am I supposed to do with that extra code? Buy a friend of Realm Reborn and give them the extra code. That's the only thing I could think of. Like, hey, you wanted to try Final Fantasy, right? Yeah, but I don't feel like buying the expansion. Well, here's what you do. You go buy the Realm Reborn code, and I'll give you the expansion. There you go. Problem solved. 1.5. What would you do? That. I would actually, I don't know, because I have a lot of friends that don't have time for that, and the one friend I do have that, like, really has time to play video games, he's kind of wrapped up in World of Warcraft and Destiny right about now. So I would probably give it away on stream. That's probably what I would end up doing. And now, spoiler, thumbs up and down after, don't forget. I got it. See, I've been good so far. We've already had 2 of them. Which thing in the artwork book that isn't out yet seems really interesting to you? Bosses, gear, mount, minions? I don't know. I mean, there was a few things in there that were nice to kind of see. I didn't look at it too much. I just kind of flipped through it real quick, and I was like, all right, I've seen all these things. But I'm looking forward to seeing the things that aren't in the art book. I'm less excited for the things that are in the art book and more excited because I know there are things that aren't in there. But I don't really have a good answer for you on that one. Sorry, because as soon as I open a collector's edition, I usually just skim through it and then put everything back and then don't touch it ever again. I'm like the half good collector. Like I'm the collector that doesn't want to ruin anything or like tear a page or something, but at the same time I'm the collector that'll still open it and not leave it in the original box because I want to see it myself. So yeah, I don't really have anything. The one mount though that I still want is the Senua mount that we're probably gonna get from the Vanu Vanu Beast Tribe. So that should be fun. Oh, thumbs up. See, I'm good. I'm good. I wasn't that much of a spoiler though. That's why I probably forgot. Either way, I did it already. Next question, repost from week 47. Hey there, Mr. Happy. Oh my god, my computer works. Sorry. My question is about the Tombstones. With the way things are right now, it is really easy to get the Tombstones of Law for a piece of gear in a couple of hours of grinding. I think they will change once esoterics are introduced. P.S. Thanks for the guide on Alexander Normal. They were extremely helpful and getting me through the raids. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for the compliment on thanking me. You're welcome. There we go. Never mind. Answering the question. Esoterics are probably going to take a little bit longer to get, but you got to remember, Tombstones of Esoterics have a weekly cap. I don't expect the grind for Law to change at all. I do expect that Esoterics, it'll mostly be about, how much you're going to get from Alexander Normal, how much you're going to get from Alexander Savage, how much you're going to get from PvP even. Like, maybe PvP will be an efficient way of farming Esoterics again. Are they going to change some of the, just what are the values going to be? How many dungeons am I going to have to do to cap my Esoterics? Can you get them from maps? I think it'll probably be a little bit longer, mostly because there is that weekly cap where, alright, I'm done farming Esoterics for the week. So, other than that, though, I don't really think it'll be any different. It'll just be, running a few of the same things again and just getting Esoterics on top of the Law Tombstones we were already getting. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. I have 2 questions, and you may find the first one silly, so I apologize in advance. My first question is regarding 1.0's font face style, the same font face from 11. I would like to know if you think we should have the option to switch our font styles. This is what I loved about 1.0 and made 11 feel like a font face with this font face style. Silly question. I don't see a problem with it. The only thing I'll say is, I'd say don't worry about a game feeling like 11 ever again. Because if you can't get past that whole Final Fantasy 11 thing, that feeling, that emotion, I feel like every little thing that's held on to with Final Fantasy 11, it's just like, you just gotta let it go. Like, they're good memories at this point, but you just gotta let it go. Just let it go. My second question is regarding graphics textures. We finally got DX11, and I love how much better the game looks and runs. In my opinion, is all we need is an HD texture patch for all those users with higher-end PC rigs. What do you think about this? Will an HD texture pack affect PS4 or Mac? Thanks. They won't do it. They're already making PS4 graphical updates. We know that. You know, I don't know when they're doing it. Maybe 3.1. Who the hell knows? But I don't see them doing that. I think because the number of people with super high-end PCs is not very high. Like, most people run it on a standard PC or they run it on a console. The Mac version we don't want to talk about. So to put development time towards something that very few people are going to be able to use, I think most people will tell you to just use like SweetFX or something like that. If you don't know what that is, Google it. I don't know of anybody who's been using it since the expansion launched. I don't know if it's working with the expansion launch, but somebody else could tell you that. I think SweetFX will be what you'll probably want to use if you want better textures and better graphics in general, even over DX11. And my morning congestion is starting to come in. You guys remember this? That's why I stopped recording Monday mornings, because I would get congested because I just woke up. Yeah, it's starting to kick in. Repost from week 47. Posted a bit late. Hey, Mr. Happy. Question for Mondays with Mr. Happy. My friggin' it's hitting my chin right there. Question for Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. Long-time EU YouTube viewer, first-time poster. Give me that law bonus. Yes, esoteric soon. Recap, got a few questions for you. I'll try to keep them short. Recap since expansion launched. What's your opinion on the new classes so far? I heard you mention that Dark and Astrologian quite a bit. What's your take on Machinist? I personally love it, but it does seem to be suffering from occasionally low DPS and randomness with the ammo system. I love playing both Dark Knight and Astrologian. They feel very, very fun to play. Originally, I didn't feel this way about Dark Knight. There's a problem where their weapons don't feel as their weapon skills, I should say, don't feel as weighted as they may have seemed they would. It's very, very strange. Like when I played a warrior, I felt that butcher's block and that inner beast hitting. I don't know how to describe it because it's a really silly thing. It's a virtual weapon on a virtual character. It has no physical feeling attached to it. But for some reason, the way a weapon is just, the way it's swung and the way that it makes contact, and it's not there for Dark Knight. But even then, it's still amazingly fun to play. Astrologian, I find the same. I love the reactive aspect to it. And for Machinist, it's only 32, so I don't think I can fairly talk about the Machinist yet. So I'll talk about that at a later time. With the EU data centers coming up later this year, how much of the EU population do you see will move over them to escape the occasional delay lag fest? Quite a few. Definitely your average EU player will do their best to try and bring as many friends over. Or some people, the thing is, a lot of European players have made connections with North American players, and they've kind of grown used to it. They all use What the Fast or Battle Pang or something along those lines, and they play fine. Like, yes, they have the delay. I totally know they still have it, even with the What the Fast and whatnot. But I think the people who play on the European servers, I think it's more along the lines of how many NA people will move off the European servers as opposed to EU people moving off the NA servers. Because there is an EU data center that isn't located in EU, an entire data center. So that entire data center will probably be moved. It's just a question of who's staying and who's going. I don't think it's as many people as we think. I think that people have made enough friends at this point where the lag isn't bothering them. I think it's your standard player, you know, the person who plays the game, you know, they generally play it with a few friends or something like that. They'll be like, let's move over to, you know, now that we have this, let's move over to EU server. Sure. Not the people who are like in North American free companies and they've got statics with them. I don't see that changing at all. Not unless that static ends up breaking up, do I see them leaving for the European data center. Question number 3. I've recently gotten a bit more spare time on my hands. What are your top tips to get into raiding nowadays? I've been hardcore raiding and raid leading in WoW for 3 to 4 years in the past, but at the moment I can't seem to find a good free company that fits my schedule and or taste. Thank you for all the guides and videos so far, and keep up the great work. PS, Papa Match for life. Yes. Rendell, over and out. So it's not as easy as just like giving advice to get into raiding. I've been into raiding since, like, as soon as I'm in a game, I just immediately go into raiding. Like, I've always had connections in raiding scenarios, whether it be World of Warcraft or it be you know, Final Fantasy, you know, 11, 14, doesn't matter. I've always had connections. I've been able to make connections with people that are like, you know, so when you're max level or, you know, you got some gear, you know, we'll trial you out and something like that. And it's not that easy. I mean, right now there's not much to raid. You know, you can pug all of Alexander generally. It's just a matter of searching the official forums, searching Reddit recruitment forums, and just being open to just not needing a super specific group. Get one that fits your schedule. You know, look through the party finder, log into different servers and check their party finders as well. Like if you know there's a super high pop server, if it's really early in the morning and you can get a character on there, make a character, check out the party finders, or ask a friend who's on that server, hey, can you check the party finder real quick or something like that. Just look for activity and how many people are playing and free companies that are recruiting, and just do your best to find these groups that are looking for statics. They're all over the place on certain servers, little bit fewer and far between on some servers. So just do your best, just keep your head up, just keep your eyes out, and you should find something soon. Next question. Hey, Happy, 2 questions for the week. Alright, I already know who's asking this question, so I'm skipping the first question. Question number 2, serious question though, a rather weird and personal one. What's the highest level of physical pain you have ever experienced in real life, and how did it happen? I wouldn't say I've ever had that much extreme physical pain. Like, yeah, it's physical pain that'll make you, like, cry out as a kid, like, you know, breaking a bone or something like that. I can't really think of something that put me in such extreme physical... You know what? I can think of one thing. So when I broke my leg, it was really, really bad. But when I broke my arm, the way that they needed to twist my arm to get the x-rays was extremely painful. I was in the 3rd grade, I think. Something along those lines. I was in the 3rd grade, and I was playing football with my sister's friends who were 5 years older than me. One of them thought it would be a good idea to pick me up like this, like, but he was messing around. I didn't like being up there, but I knew he was messing around. What was not good was when another person tackled him and I fell onto my arm. And then when they were just trying to take it, they were like, all right, it's like I could keep my arm like this and it wasn't in that much pain. It would like throb and that was it. But then they were like, okay, we need you to take your arm and do this. I'm like, oh my god, I just remember. I mean, I probably remember it worse because I was in the 3rd grade. Like, I didn't know how to handle pain like that. But, oh my god, that was brutal. But other than breaking a few bones, I wouldn't say that I've ever been in extreme physical pain. You know, I've never had anything crazy like that happen, you know? Next question. Yo, Mr. Happy, first time bonus for you. Yeah, he didn't even say which bonus it was. He left it up to me. Got a question for you. Do you think they will ever implement a Glamour log system? Please, for the love of Jesus, let them get... Like, I don't even want it for me. I want it because it's easy. Excuse me, it's easier. It's just so much easier for the game to remember what you've glamored before. And it keeps, like you said, yeah, it keeps the gear in your inventory, records the gear in the log, says after spear bind, and that way you don't need to keep it in your log anymore. It doesn't need to sit in your inventory. You just need to own the item, and it could be anywhere in your inventory now, or it could be in your retainers or whatever, and it's fine. Yes, please. I don't even use the Glamour system other than like the Chocobo suit, and I still want this feature to exist. The problem being the way the game's like at this point, they pretty much just are gonna have to hit a point where I know they're slowly mitigating things so they can add more inventory space. But because of the way they save information on the back end, they save it every 15 seconds. And because there's so many inventory slots, so many equipment slots, so much information that needs to be saved, because they save it every 15 seconds, adding more space for every single player is very, very difficult for them. So it's like they're still running a game. Like if this game had 300, 400,000 subscribers, they would probably be able to implement this fine. But right now, they're not thinking about that. They're not like, well, we can only do this for this many people. No, they are trying to do more and more and more. It's just that unless they break it back down to 30 seconds, like make it so it only saves every 30 seconds, I don't see us getting anything along these lines ever. Unfortunately, it's a feature that would be great, but I just don't see it happening with the way the game saves information. Next question. Good evening. I have a few questions for you. They should be fairly easy and quick to answer. Do you know who you're talking to? Nothing's quick to answer for me. The main story of 3.0 seemed to clearly have a to-be-continued aura, just like the entire game. In contrast to other patches, not counting 2.5x, that always closed the story and barely left a hint about the future. Was that something you expected and or approved of? Well, they did the same thing with A Realm Reborn. At the end of A Realm Reborn, you know, you beat the Praetorium, you stopped the 7th, you stopped the, what is it, the 7th? That was the 14th Legion. The 7th Legion was back in 1.0. You stopped the 14th Legion, you know, everything's great, and then Bahamut. Like, that's literally how it ends. And the Ascians like, yes, Bahamut, and we are going to destroy everything. And that was the difference being it was a little bit more open-ended here with the Heavensward ending, where it's like, we know we still got we know that Nidhogg's still around. We know that now we've got Alexander coming out of the water. It's like, that's a bleeding primal. I sounded like Steve Irwin there. Anyway, and then you had the dude on the moon. It's just like there's a lot of things going on. The one thing that I will say, you know, I was talking about Final Fantasy 11 earlier and how, like, I feel like you need to let everything go. One thing Final Fantasy 11 did very well, it made sure its stories ended. These stories in Final Fantasy 14 are probably never going to reach a full conclusion. I don't know when we're going to get to that point where one thing is finally a threat no longer, and that one of these other, like, all the points we've been implemented that have been introduced in Realm Reborn, I have no idea if these events will ever end. Like, they're leading up to be the penultimate, not penultimate. I say penultimate like it means the last boss. No, it means like the boss before the last boss. The ultimate challenge, the ultimate ending. And I just don't know that that ending will ever come. But I'm sure they know. I'm sure they're gotta be planning this stuff out at some point. You know what I'm saying? So I expected it. I approve of it. It makes it interesting. Like, oh my god, I need to know what's next. And that anticipation keeps me wanting more. But damn, do I want some sort of closure on something. And the second question is, eventually I see myself leaving this game to play Final Fantasy 15 when it comes out, not forever, for a good while. I was going to say, 15 is a single-player game. I mean, taking a break to play a single-player game is perfectly normal. What games, if any, would make you seriously put down 14 to play them instead? 15 I'll be playing. I mean, it's not like you put the game down. You're just like, oh, I just got this single-player game. I'm not going to unsubscribe from 14 when 15 comes out. I'm going to be like, all right, well, 15's out now, so I can play that too. You know, that's all it is to me. I don't ever have to put a game down to play another game. You know, I'm capable of being a multi-gamer. It's just that if I'm enjoying a game the most, it's the game I'll put the most time into. But a single-player game, I mean, I don't expect to have to spend more than a couple of weeks playing that. You know, it's not like I'm putting down 14 forever or anything like that. So, none. I would say none, because it's just like, it's whatever. Unless, like, the only time that I can't say none. If a better MMO comes out than the MMO I'm playing, I'll usually play that one. Like, or an MMO that more fits my style, but that was what happened with 14. Like, 14 was that MMO to me. So I don't see that happening. Next question. Hey, Happy, first time asking. Philosophy bonus. What? No. No philosophy bonus. That doesn't even exist anymore. 2 questions. How are you liking Alexander, and have you noticed any bugs with Dark Knight's Dark Arts into Carven Spit, or is it just me? Dark Arts into Carven Spit? I don't think there's any issues with Dark Arts into Carven. I don't have Carven Spit. I'm 57 and a 6th. I haven't heard any Dark Knights complain about Carven Spit. I know that Darkside still has the MP, the MP issue, but Carven Spit I haven't heard anything about. And Alexander's been fun. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. It was fun. That's all it really was to me. Now I'm just farming it, trying to get my loot on my main and my alt. So, looking forward to Savage. It's 8 days away from this Mondays with Mr. Happy video. I am so excited. I'm already just thinking about all the mechanics in my head. I got it. I already know. Now, there's going to be so many things that they just flat out removed. I don't think it's going to be as simple as some other people think it's going to be. I think it's going to whoop our ass sideways. It's going to be interesting. Can't wait. Alright, this next question is a very long one, so I figured I'd read it ahead of time so I didn't have to record it. Hey, Mr. Happy, just one question. It may end up being a long one. So there is a huge question right here, and he's basically asking me, how would you make Puppet Master fit into this game? Because we all know that even if it's a joke, and it's still somewhat not a joke that I say I want Puppet Master in Final Fantasy 14. So asking me, what is my opinion on the Puppet Master? How would I rework the job? So reworking Puppet Master to fit in 14, I don't think that would be all that hard. I think a lot of the Puppet Master's weapon skills would be very similar, and that's pretty standard. I mean, for one, I don't expect it to be that positionally dependent, because I expect a lot of the power. You know how, like, Summoner's Pets are about 1/3 of their power. I mean, I don't know if that's changed in the expansion, if they're still about 1/3 of the power, or if it's a little bit more or less, whatever. But, I would probably have the Puppet Master pet more close to like half of the power. And so that way, even with some similar weapon skills with the positionals, it's not as much about the Puppet Master, and it's about weaving in maneuvers in between your weapon skills in order to give your pet proper commands. It's got its auto attacks. It can be melee. It can be ranged. I wouldn't probably give it to the caster or the healer ability. I'd probably limit it to physical melee or physical ranged. And you just give it certain maneuvers. You know, they give them like maybe about four different maneuvers. You can hit them in between your global cooldown. Each of them increases its overheat bar, executing an action. Sort of like Rumble. If you play League of Legends, when his overheat bar is above 50%, it does certain things to his abilities, but if it ever hits 100%, it has to cool down. He can't use any abilities for a short time. So it becomes about making sure you don't overheat your puppet, or if you do overheat the puppet, it gets some sort of auto attack boost or something like that. But it can't use any abilities instead. So acts as sort of like a half punishment. Like, you can't use the abilities, but it's acting as sort of an offensive cooldown in its own way. So it's about just making sure you take care of the maneuvers. The maneuvers, basically each maneuver would change your execute action thing. Think of it like the way that mudras and ninjas work. Like, you press the ninjutsu and then you press the ninjutsu button itself. But except with these, it's not all within one global cooldown. You're not giving it 3 commands in quick succession. You're giving it, you know, the fire maneuver or the wind maneuver or something like that. And these give it access to different abilities that it can use, whether it be an AoE, a single target attack. And it's all about knowing when to use these, you know, how to stack them up, saving them for burst, you know, popping them before the fight begins, giving them maneuvers. Just a lot of little different commands, and then having a few abilities, your offensive cooldowns primarily, that focus on increasing its attack speed or making it go offline but giving everyone a shield around it. So yeah, almost like, I guess, that would be kind of too much like the machinist. But you can see where I'm going with this. Just maneuvers, just giving your pet commands, knowing the combination of maneuvers and how it actually results in the commands. I think that would be a very fun melee job to play. Damn, I'm taking forever to answer some of these questions. Howdy, Mr. Happy, longtime viewer, first time asking. Passes on Alex loot for you. How nice. I don't pug it, but how nice. 3 short questions if you don't mind. I played Paladin and Warrior prior to 3.0 and know each other's strengths and weaknesses. I'm leveling Dark Knight now and enjoy it a lot, but notice it doesn't hold hate at levels below 56 without needing to spam Unleash and burning MP from mobs. Do you think that they should have another AoE enmity generator that doesn't require MP, well, like Circle of Scorn and Steel Cyclone? It'd be nice if they did. I almost kind of wish Abyssal Drain didn't cost MP, but it was on like a short cooldown instead, so you could Dark Arts it and it wouldn't be so punishing. But you don't really need to spam Unleash. I've never really spammed Unleash more than 4 times, maybe just 3. And with Blood Price, you don't even notice it unless your White Mage is stunning them. So I don't know. I don't think they it would be nice. It would be really nice if they had something extra. I don't know that it's necessary. I never had enmity issues below 56 unless I got really cocky and only did like 2 unleashes or just 3 because I thought they were going to die quick enough to not have to worry about losing aggro. And then you have to switch targets, make sure you're spamming Siphon Strike. That's the thing a lot of Dark Knights do. Instead of using Siphon Strike combos, they just Power Slash combos because they think, oh, this is my enmity generating tool. You're really only supposed to Power Slash once at the start of a fight. And from that point on, it's pretty much Delirium or Dark Art Soul Eater combos that you're doing. Just for the sake of trying to output as much DPS and making sure you're constantly getting MP back. You know what I'm saying? So, it would be nice, but I don't think it necessarily is required for the job. I think there are other things they could focus on to enhance the job as opposed to that. Also, I still have the hardest time with tank swapping on extreme primals. Hate usually doesn't stick to me and goes back to the former tank. What are your tips? Save up a combo. Now, remember when I was mentioning Power Slash before? That is one thing that you'll want to use tank swaps for. You'll usually want to, and also this is on the other tank too. If you provoke and then the other tank hits it with like a Rage of Halone or a Butcher's Block, that's on them too, don't forget. And they have dots ticking, you need to be able to pull aggro off of them. So usually what you'll do is you'll save up, I forget what the ability is before Power Slash, I think it's Hard Slash. You'll save up like a Hard Slash or a Power Slash and do it right after you provoke. You know, don't just provoke and then start doing your 3-point combo, or don't provoke and then Delirium Blade. You kind of got to know, I am going to need to provoke at this point. I need to save up my enmity generating skill so that when I hit provoke, I can follow up with that skill and make sure I'm on the top of the enmity list. From that point on, you probably won't have as much freedom to spam Delirium Blade or to spam Soul Eater. You'll probably need to Dark Arts a Power Slash, to be honest, if you really want to hold aggro against the other tank while still spamming your Siphon Strike combos. But I'm trying to think, there's not really any fights in Alexander normal right now, other than maybe Living Liquid where you need a tank swap. So, I guess Ravana, there's no tank swap either, and Bismarck, there's only 1 tank swap, and that shouldn't be an issue because the other tanks shouldn't really be generating aggro outside of maybe a dot. So yeah, just practice it. Just practice doing that and you should be okay. And lastly, what is your ranking for the DPS class in 3.0? From least liked to most? That's not really fair. I haven't played any of them at 60. I can't say which one I like the most if I haven't played it at 60. I mean, to me, that's not a fair assessment. That's me going, I see that, I have no idea what it's doing, but I don't like it. You know what I mean? So, I'm going to have to skip that one. I don't think it's fair for me to answer it with the knowledge I have of the jobs right now. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, thank you for all the guides and advice. I started playing 14 2 years ago, and your content helped me out quite a bit. Thank you for the compliment, and I'm glad you've still been playing for 2 years. My question is, I was wondering about future boss fights. I would like a dungeon raid or whatever where we put against ourselves, like our jobs. For instance, I main a scholar and would like to fight against the scholar boss, so dispelling will be key to defeat the boss. Also, the fairy mechanics will come into play too. I would like to have the boss fights of all jobs that you have to complete. They have to compete against. Do you think they will implement such fights in the future if someone asked them to? I think that those would almost be good trial fights, solo trial fights, maybe like once a week or once every few days or something like that, where it just kind of tries to remind you all the different tools you have as your job. But they'd have to make it something that's not easy. Like, it would have to be something that's difficult, that tests your knowledge of your job. So you go into it and you're like, damn, I got my ass beat. Okay, I didn't use all these abilities. How can I use these abilities? So they put a dot on me. I should dispel that at that point, like right away, because it did a ton of damage. Or there's a big amount of damage that comes out, and it hits my fairy especially hard. So I need to Eloquium them. I need to Eloquium my own fairy at that time. Just things that test your reactiveness and skill. I would be a fan of it. It's very akin to the Matt fight from Final Fantasy XI, where he would basically, while he was always a monk, he would take on aspects of whatever job he was facing against. So, yeah, I think they could do it. I think if someone asked, I think it would take a lot of development time, which I don't know if they'd have. It would probably be something that wouldn't happen anytime soon, so it's worth asking. I mean, the best thing you can do is maybe put the idea out there to other people, see what they think, and just try to make it something that fits. Like, I just don't want it to be easy. I feel like this kind of encounter should be designed to test you as a player and your reactions and your understanding of your own job. So I think it would be a good thing to have, especially for level 60 players, to do before they get into raiding, so they can practice adequately. All right, there are still a lot of questions. Wow, there's only 2 pages of questions, but like, I'm getting crazy questions right now. Hey, Happy, longtime viewer with a first post-law bonus. Yes. I've been a video gamer my whole life, rocking out the original Game Boy on family outings. I know that feeling. I remember watching a friend play Final Fantasy VI for maybe 5 minutes, and I had to have the game. Then I found out it was $80, and somehow still convinced my parents to get it. It's my favorite in series, and prompted me to buy, every SNES Squaresoft. So you bought Final Fantasy 3, which was 6 here. Okay. Secret of Mana's second best game of all time. That being said, with the remake of 7, how long do you think until a true remake of 6 comes out? It's the only game that has never gotten any sort of upgrade aside from the GBA version. There was another version of the game. There's the mobile, there's the iOS version that people aren't that big of a fan of. Also, being in the Final Fantasy VI Mindframe, Final Fantasy 4, and there was also the PS1 version. Was the PS1 version? But no, it didn't. It didn't have better graphics. I'm a liar. Also, being in the Final Fantasy VI Mindframe, Final Fantasy 14 has used almost every summon from previous installments. I share your feelings. I would like 14 to grow its own Final Fantasy title. And I love how Final Fantasy titles relate to another with summons, chocobos, names, and such. They have to start creating new primals besides Ravana shortly, right? But with the way the story is going, what a primal truly is, I would love for them to implement Maduin. I think Maduin's not far off from happening. I have a big feeling Maduin is going to even be in this expansion, if I had to be honest. I'm not big on the remakes thing. I don't care that there's necessarily a Final Fantasy VII remake. I embrace it, and I will play it. I will buy it. I know they're going to make millions off that game. As for a Final Fantasy VI remake, that's one of the, it's just like, I don't feel the need to have these games remade. Yes, would it be cool to see the story told in an updated graphical engine? Sure. Would it be the same game? No. Final Fantasy VII Remake, they've already said it's gonna have minor changes to the story. It's not gonna be turn-based. Like, it can't be the same game with all these updates. It has to be a new game. If I wanted to play the same game, I'd go play the original game. You know, that's my outlook on it. So they want to remake 6. They expressed an interest in remaking 6 after they finished remaking 7. We'll see what they do. I think if anything, it's 5 years out, and that's honestly, that's a short time frame. It's probably longer than that, if it happens at all. We'll see what happens with the Final Fantasy VII remake first. Alright, so a lot of these questions are really, really long. The ones that are left, like, really, really long. So, I am going to answer 2 long ones and 2 short ones. So, apologies if your question doesn't get selected. Let's see, let's go with this one. Hey, Mr. Happy, first time asker, so law bonus, esoterics bonus soon. Since you mentioned that your lore embargo would be out for this week's Q&A video, I figured I'd ask your opinion on a theory I came to and a lot of other people seem to agree with, or have come to the same conclusion themselves. Sorry for the long intro into a short question. Namely that we, the Warrior of Light, might be something akin to a primal, or perhaps something similar. Basically, with so many people viewing us as the symbol of hope for Eorzea, and so many people looking for us to basically save them, it's not too different from how the Ixal looked to Garuda to save them. There's also that scene at the end of the last story mode trial where the defeated Archbishop says, "What are you?" with a horrified look on his face, signaling that something's off with our character. So, for the actual question, what do you think? Do you think this could be the case? Are we turning into a primal? I definitely think we have a lot of features that are akin to a primal. I don't think we suck up ether quite like them, and I don't think that our primary goal, like primals, is to suck up an ether. We may be a primal to some sort of future incarnation, like our legend may eventually give birth to a primal several years down the line. I don't necessarily think we are a primal. I definitely think we're something else. Something weird, something unique. We're definitely not like everyone else. But Heidelin seems to appreciate the idea that she's not for primals being unleashed onto the world. So I don't think she herself would unleash one. Then again, you do have Iceheart, but Iceheart's actions were of her own interpretation based on what she saw with her gift. So it's hard to really say. I think that there's a possibility that we are something akin to a primal. I just don't think that it's quite the same type of primal. I think it's kind of like that open-ended, what is a primal kind of thing. Because I just don't see that we, as an individual, are sucking up the ether of the land. We're constantly trying to return ether to the land. But the question is that really our motivation? So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's not my belief that we are a primal. It seems a little bit too, as understandable as it is, too much in the direction of us being the evil, as opposed to us just being an imbalance, which seems to be the point at the end of the story. Should have done the spoiler thing, but you know what? I said it was going to be a spoiler lore embargo question, so there. End of the question. Yay. Alright. And then the other long question we will take is right here. Hey, Mr. Happy, first time asker here, law bonus. As a semi-hardcore bard, I have a question for you regarding the current bard. I just got minus 60 a couple days ago. What do you think about our current state after the minuet buff? Very good. I have been seeing our bard, Sardigan, pull insane numbers with the minuet buff. I can now push my DPS to maximum around 900-ish, but that's still 300 or 400 behind Dragoon Monk. It's about 300. And that also depends. If you're talking about dummy DPS, then you can pull way more than that. I know our bard is easily able to pull over 1,000 on dummies. He can pull near or above 1,000 on actual fights. So, and that's when you have to consider mechanics, then that actually is very, very good, because when selected with mechanics, it's not unreasonable for a melee to do between 1050 and like 1100-ish on Alexander normal, minus the second one where it's pretty much just AoE everything, and it's like, well, whatever, no one cares. Or someone in the Gobwalker is just pulling mobs away from you, harassing you like, hey, I'm gonna attack this mob. Oh, yank away. Someone's trolling you in the Gobwalker. 400. Dragoon is really at the top of the food chain right now. If you're talking about dummy DPS, though, you could definitely be pulling another 100 higher. That's assuming you're in the best gear, you know, pre-Alexander normal. I'm talking about, like, Hive Weapon, full I-180, all that stuff, given the fact that we sacrificed our mobility. Also, I think it's fine right now. I think that Bard and Machinist are in an alright place. I think Machinist needs sort of a rework to its play pattern to make it more fun and more rewarding to play, but not necessarily to be stronger anymore. Also, do you think there's a possibility Square Enix will completely remove Wanderer's Minuet? No. They've already said this is your new skill. This is to reward bards for knowing their positioning. If you have to turn it off to DPS on the move, there are times where you can turn off Minuet, where it is more of a DPS gain to turn it off than to try and keep it on and dodge, like, for the next 5 seconds. Like, if you're gonna have to dodge and be moving for the next 5 seconds, good example is in Ravana when he summons orbs in his beetle stance right after he does Bloody Fuller and whatever Kadargras or whatever it's called. When you're moving to dodge those orbs, you turn off Minuet and you DPS. You don't sit in Minuet and just be like, well, I'm going to use Feint. Like, which is, it's not the option. That's not the correct choice. So I think they're in a perfectly fine place. I think that it's a good reward to have. I think in its new implementation, it's better than in its original one. Now it more adequately feels like, okay, if I need to move, I can turn it off. If I can stand still for at least 15 seconds, when you turn it on, you need to know I am going to have this on at least for the next 15 seconds. Then it works out okay. So I think it'll be okay. You still have all the mobility when you need it. You just don't mindlessly move around as a bard anymore. So hopefully that answers the question. I do not see Wanderer's Minuet being taken out of the game. Alright, and now I'm going to grab 2 really quick questions, and then we are going to be done with this video for the week. I'm going to post it without the questions, because unfortunately it took me a very long time to record this video. By the time I edit it, the time I get it out, it won't be out before I start streaming if I have to stop and take the pictures and everything. I'm going to be cutting it really close on time with this one. So I'm going to just include the actual thread, this thread, the one I'm reading from, in the description below for people who want to read the questions. If you want to ask a question, that one will be at the top of the description of the video too. So don't worry about that. So the first short question of the last 2 I'll be answering. Hi, Mr. Happy. My question for week 48 is, do you know if they'll be adding more stages to Alexander, not including Savage, but the same way they did with the Binding Coil? Yes, Alexander will be, every other patch, Alexander is going to crawl out of that lake a little bit more. So in the next patch, his other arm is going to come out and hit the other side of the land right by his feet. Then in the final patch, that shield around him should break and the full Alexander should be out of the water. That's the way they described it. Patch by patch, he's going to be coming out of that ocean, and eventually when we go in to finish him off, it is going to be the full, you're going to see the full Alexander from the outside, and he is going to be standing tall. And I think that's great, because that's a great visual thing to have for people who have finished the main story. That's, of course, that should only be for people who have finished the main story itself. I don't know if it's actually going to be different if you haven't beaten the first stages of Alexander. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if it's going to phase depending on if you finish the stages. Probably not, right? They're probably just going to show the whole thing regardless of where you are in the quest line. We'll see. Oh, you know what? After you finish 3.2 and after you finish 3. Nah, after you finish 3.4 main story. No, because they're not going to tie that to the main story anymore. He'll slowly come out of the lake, and there will be more stages added to him, yes. Alright, and the last question is from somebody who I know who's asking this question. Let's see. Haps, exactly how long can you, in a single breath, kiss his Ethis? Ethis? Come on, man, that's inappropriate. Ethis, come on. You didn't even ask me a lore. Everyone else asked me a lore question. Ethis asks me, how long can I say, hey? And honestly, the answer is probably not very long. It doesn't even sound like A at that point. Like I'm like it's like I'm trying to do a bad Chewbacca impression. Well, you got your wish. I got to do the longest A I could in a single breath. Anyway, thank you everyone for asking questions for this week's Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to ask your questions for next week as well in the thread under the video. Go there. That's the one that says week 49. That is the one you want to ask questions in. The other one is locked. Don't try to ask questions in. It's just for reading the questions, since I was kind of strapped for time on this one since I actually did it Monday morning. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you all next Monday. Well, I'll make some videos during the week. Don't you worry. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next week. And until then, take care.